Hello and welcome to the Car Care Nut channel. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the wonderful 2013 to 2018 Toyota Avalon. We're going to be talking about some common problems, things you need to know if you own one or you're looking to buy one. But before we get started, consider subscribing to the channel. If you like this video, check out some of my other videos. Give this video a thumbs up. Without further ado, let's dig right into it. A small overview before we get started. In my personal and professional opinion, this 3-year range Avalon is possibly the best year range to buy. The price point you're buying them as the date of filming this video, they are enormous value. And if you own one, don't go running to sell it because it's actually one of the best Toyotas. I would consider it to be a hidden gem that people often miss when they're shopping for cars. One thing I will say, if you're shopping for them, there is a lot of ex-rental cars that are out there for sale. Unless you really know and you really check them well, I would completely avoid them because they were usually neglected, not taken care of, so something you need to know about. Starting with the engine category, there are very few items here. If you've watched some of my other videos, buying guides for common problems with the V6 2GRFE, this is the engine that came in the gasoline model in these Avalons. Now, it's super rare on the Avalon for some reason, and they seem to be much better made, but it's very rare that you'll have a front timing cover leak. It's basically a leak from the back of the engine. Requires the engine to be removed from the car to fix, but they're very rare, but it wouldn't hurt to take a peek underneath, make sure nothing is leaking oil. Another thing that is also not very common, but still possible, is a water pump leak. It's either going to be a rattling noise that goes up and down with the engine sound, or it's just going to be a flat coolant leak. Again, somewhat expensive if you're going to the dealership. Very DIY. Actually, this car has a lot of room to work to do the water pump, so something to know. Another thing on the hybrid models with the 2.5 liter engine, they're notorious to burn oil, and it's not because the engine has a problem, it's because of poor maintenance, especially on fleet cars. Some of these cars were used as limos, and sometimes they don't maintain them very well. So my advice to you to avoid all kinds of oil consumption problems with all Toyota models, skip that 10,000 mile 1-year oil change, do it every 5,000 6 months, and you will not even have a single problem and not even worry about having one in the future. Moving on to the transmission. Now, the transmission in this car is usually bulletproof. However, there are a few notes that I'd like you to know about. The first one is, it was also a herd of them that came in right around 100,000 miles with burned fluid, solenoid problems, and codes, and shifting issues, and all kinds of problems. Now, my recommendation to you is, if you own one of these Avalons, replace the fluid every 60,000 miles or 6 years, and you should have no problems with this transmission. This is an awesome, very bulletproof transmission otherwise. There's one more thing that is often mistaken for this. If you all of a sudden have a weird shift between second and third, first to second, especially that first 3 gears, and it was fine, and all of a sudden there's a weird shift. It either delays a little bit or jerks or shifts very hard. Don't go racing to replace transmission and do all kinds of things. It's a very simple memory reset. Unfortunately, with these models, you can't just unplug the battery and call it a day. You would have to use a Toyota scan tool or a very capable scan tool. It's just a simple memory reset. Everything goes back to normal. You take it for a 20-minute test drive afterwards, and life is good. So something to know about with this transmission. Moving on to chassis, we only have 2 items here. Although not very common, but still possible, we've seen some struts leak. And you can refer to my series on steering and suspension to know what constitutes a leak. on the strut and all the details of how everything is built, but wouldn't hurt to check them periodically. I doubt you'll find them very chronic and back and forth, but something to know about that they're possible to leak. Another thing that is very common actually on the Avalons is a squeak noise. As you go into a hump, like let's say a hump in the road, you go down, you go up, it makes a squeak, especially in cold weather. This is very common, same problem with Camrys of similar years. It's front sway bar bushings, and there's an updated bracket and an updated bushing. Not an expensive repair. I'm not worried about it. If you hear it, especially in cold weather, just get it taken care of. Make sure they're updated parts that you're putting on there, and you won't have this issue again. Moving on to body, and we have a few items here. None of them are serious, but things you need to know about. The first one is the back of the driver's and passenger seat has a big cover. This cover loves to fall off, and it was very common in the early ones, enough where Toyota updated the part and didn't recall the cars, but they made a campaign so they would take care of it for people. Try not to hang off of them. I know people are trying to get off the car in the back seat and they hang on the seat to get off. Try not to do that because these covers are plastic and the hook that connects them is also plastic, and you just don't want to keep popping them off. They can get a little expensive, and there's something so silly I wouldn't worry too much about it. But if you're buying one, make sure you look that they're tug on them a little bit, not too hard. Make sure they're not just barely hanging on and you just touch them and they fall off. Another thing is the rear sunshade on limited models or the higher trim models. Rear sunshade, beautiful, privacy, looks fancy and all. Just make sure you don't forget it. If you're buying one, make sure you test it, that it works. And if you own one and you don't like to use it, make sure periodically you put it up and down, because these things tend to stick, and the less you use them, the more they jam, if you would. And now you put them up, they're all shaking and they get stuck. People have all kinds of problems with them. So something you need to know about this one. And one more thing, the infamous sunroof rattle. This is a problem that started around 2007 with Toyota and is still going on today. I don't know why it's so hard for Toyota to fix this one. Such a silly problem. So you're driving your Avalon, you're going into a driveway. As you're turning and you go up the driveway, you hear a huge clunk in the roof area. This only applies to models with sunroofs, of course. The metal that folds to make the opening for the sunroof, it clunks. And the fix for that is take the headliner, take everything down, take the sunroof down, and put literally plastic shims, just so the two metal pieces won't hit each other. It's very silly. If it was my car, I'd just raise the radio. It is not worth tearing into the whole car. If you got an extended warranty, sure, go for it. It's a little bit expensive, not crazy, and it really is just a bother. Nothing is broken, nothing is falling apart, so something you need to know. Another one, and this one is more common on the earlier models, but it seems it's scattered across. The fuel door handle breaks. This is very common when people don't know how to use them. There is a safety release in the trunk, inside the trunk, in case the fuel door gets stuck, you can open it. However, on most models, you push the door and it opens. Most people seem to miss that. They're looking for a handle, they're looking for everything. If you have a model that's equipped with this style fuel door, don't yank the handle too hard. And if you're using that safety handle, don't pull it too hard. Just gently pull it until you hear a click, and that's all it takes. The way this the fuel door works is when the car is unlocked, you just push the fuel door, it pops open. When the car is locked and you don't have the key, you push it, it'll be locked. It won't open. So something to know about. Very common, where you pull that handle hard, the safety release handle, you pull it and it breaks, and now you need a whole actuator or reassemble the actuator. So be gentle with that handle and you should have no issues. Moving on to electrical. And the first item is, this is limited to the 2013 model. There were some issues with the blind spot monitor, other than the normal issues with blind spot monitor, which we will cover on a future video for all Toyota models. The issue is specific to 2013 model. Warning lights, the blind spot monitor system stops working. There is a TSB for a fix inside the mirror. So if you're buying a 2013 model, make sure the blind spot works, that it's not turned off. Turn it on if it's turned off. Make sure it works properly. If not, it's not an expensive repair, but something you need to know about. Another problem is the pre-collision system in the models that are equipped with it in this year range, especially the early ones, 2013 to 15, they were a little bit prehistoric and they didn't work very well, and they had a ton of problems. One of them was a recall, actually. But if you're shopping for one because you really want this feature, I'd skip it on this model. It's not great. Look for 16 to 18. They're vastly improved there, but the early ones, I wouldn't pay more money for one that has it. It doesn't really work very well. It's very problematic. Another problem with these, and this is not just the Avalon, this is all Toyota models, modern Toyota models. Radio problems. Now, I'll admit the Avalon seems to be less problematic than the others. However, you're going to be constantly having phone drops, screen freezing, rebooting, all kinds of problems. That's just the name of the game with this radio. You're going to need constant updates to the radio. Yes, the dealership can do them. They're not expensive, but it becomes annoying. So something you need to know about with these radios. Last but not least, hybrids. The hybrid in this Avalon is possibly one of the best hybrids there is with Toyota. They're super reliable. There are a few things that you need to be aware of. First, keep the maintenance on that engine, the oil changes, do not neglect them. Like I said before, oil burning is possible as miles add up. Another thing is, maintain that fan filter. We've talked about it in multiple videos, but I'll mention it again. It's the filter for the hybrid cooling, for a hybrid battery cooling. It's a fan that cools the battery. You gotta maintain that filter. Make sure you don't block it, keep it clean, vacuum it out, replace the filter if you need it. And you should have no issues with these hybrids lasting 100, 200, 300,000 miles. What's the best year to buy? Well, this one is very simple. 2013 all the way to 2018. These are awesome cars. They only have one problem, not problem of them breaking or everything. They have a personality conflict. So before, Avalons used to be grandpa's car, and they behaved like one. They were soft, they were plush, they handled like a big old Buick, and they were super reliable. However, with the 2013 model, they wanted to make it more athletic. And now, grandpa doesn't like it because it's too harsh, and young buyer doesn't like it because it's grandpa's car. But it's neither. So that's something with the personality. One thing I will note, 2013 to 2015 models had a stiffer ride, and that might bother some people buying a big luxury sedan like that, and it's a little harsh. However, 2016 and up to the 18 was vastly improved on that aspect, and it even handles better. But reliability wise, they're all awesome cars. You can't go wrong buying one, especially at the prices they're going for today. Well, I hope this video was helpful and informative for you. Like I said, this is one of the best buys you can buy today as of the date of filming this video. I hope you learned something new. If you liked it, again, consider subscribing to the channel, giving this video a thumbs up, follow the channel on Instagram and Facebook for sneak peeks and updates. May the Lord bless you and keep you, and you have a wonderful day.